Okay, cool. So we're just going to smash through this list. I've got 10 points here, 5 good, that's going to be on this side, and 5 bad, that's going to be on this side. So let me just give you the setup of what the bootcamp was like. The first most important thing I want to tell you is that this was actually free. I did not have to pay for this bootcamp. It was government funded, and I guess the taxpayers paid for it, which was also me, I guess. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave a link below for where you can find a list of different courses, full-time or part-time, that you can join, that the government will fund for you as long as you meet the eligibility criteria and you're like over 18, stuff like that. You will be able to join these courses for free and learn, skills for life, basically. Pretty cool. Let me start with the setup of the bootcamp. So it was called the Skills Bootcamp, and it was for front-end web development, even though I did learn a few back-end skills. It was 4 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and it was pretty intense for a part-time course, I'm not gonna lie. On Tuesdays, we had the 3 hours from 6:30 to 9:30, same on Wednesday, same on Thursday, and then on Friday, we had 6 to 8. So this was prime time. This wasn't like, this is when Coronation Street's on and, any type of things that you want to watch, Love Island, no time for that. It's boot camp, it's work time, baby. We're in this. It went on for 16 weeks, and we did get 2 weeks break in total. One for like American Thanksgiving and stuff like that, and then one for Christmas, which was pretty cool, because that's when my son was born. So I needed that time off. Anyway, let's reel off these notes, shall we? From my favorite note-taking app, Notability. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I just want to make that clear, but it's a pretty good app. You can download it for free. Anyway, number 1. Nope, wrong finger already. Number 1, learning direction, curriculum. So what I mean by this is, before I started the bootcamp, I didn't know which direction to turn. I didn't know where I was going. I knew that I wanted to learn JavaScript because everyone tells you to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript. But then, did I want to learn JavaScript, or did I want to learn Python, or did I want to learn C#, or did I want to learn Java? You start to second guess yourself, even though you started off thinking you know exactly what you want to do. There's so much input from the outside world, from YouTube, from Udemy, from Coursera, that you start to get confused with where you actually want to go on this journey. And this bootcamp allowed me to just settle in on one curriculum, one thing to do, beat this, pass it, complete it, get the certificate, and go about your journey, get a job. That was it. And it made it so much easier for me to buckle down and just get straight to work, instead of thinking about all these unnecessary thoughts and intrusive thoughts of, well, where am I going to go, and what is this really the best thing for me and stuff. It's a great opportunity. It's free. This is my chance. That's how I thought about it. Okay, so number 2. This is definitely on the bad side. I noticed that the instructor that we had, I noticed that he was teaching from the instructional slides, and he's never seen the instructional slides in his life. Literally in his life, you could tell. So he'd start off with the first slide, and it would be talking about HTML, for example. Oh, it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Cool. Well, it's the building block to web design. Cool. And then he'll switch to the next slide, and it will basically just explain the last 5 minutes of what he just said. And it's like, oh, okay. Next slide. Cool. Nope. Also explained that already. Cool. Next slide. I didn't even think about this. Okay, so he's talking about it. And it was just like, it didn't make that much of a difference, but it was still quite jarring to see that he didn't even take the effort to maybe look at the material before the class started, just to check his notes, see what he was going to be working with, and then start the class. He's kind of just freestyling it like the rest of us, but he's the instructor, so I would have expected him to know a bit more about the slides than we did. He did seem to be blindsided quite a lot. So we're going to the third, and this is a bad point. Am I on the bad points? Now I forgot which one's bad. What bad? Anyway, it's a bad point. And it was the pace of the course. This was a biggie. One of the first few days after the course started, we had major complaints. Like literally about 50 people were complaining about the pace of the course and how they were lulled into a false sense of security. This is supposed to be for beginners who know nothing about code. And, you can start from anywhere. It's going to be great for you. I'll be honest. If I never knew one piece of code, if I didn't even know Hello World, and I joined this bootcamp, I would have failed the bootcamp. Hands down, I would have failed it, because it would have taken me so long to understand, let me put this into context. You have 16 weeks and you go from HTML, CSS to React and and I can't remember what else we were learning, Node.js and Jest, and it was just like, it went really quick. One example that really made me laugh was some of the early exercises that we had to do regarding, CSS, JavaScript or HTML, where I could do the exercises okay, but I was barely finishing them and I knew what I was doing. We had about 5 to 10 minutes to do some of the exercises, and it was quite taxing. I had to do quite a lot of stuff to get the thing running or to complete the task. So I can't even imagine people that haven't had the experience of working with those kind of languages to have done those exercises. And the funny thing was, the instructor always came back like, okay guys, hopefully you guys finished that all lovely and that was all good and easy for you guys, yeah, hopefully. And he'd even say sometimes, put a 1 in the chat if you really, really struggled with it, and put a 5 in the chat if you didn't struggle with it and it was super easy. And so many people were putting like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, and a few 5s. And it doesn't matter to him. He didn't think it was a cause for concern or anything. He was just like, cool, great, yeah. So, next task. Like, sure. So I think I think for a bootcamp that's only for 16 weeks, you're going to really struggle if you're a part-timer and you have full-time work and you also have commitments outside of work and, just in your own life. You're going to struggle for sure. So be aware of that. Okay, this is an easy win. We're going to go with meeting other people for the 4th point. Really, really great experience. I met so many good people, so many cool people that were like-minded, who wanted to do the same things as me, who wanted to reach the same heights that I want to reach. There was a lot of camaraderie around the bootcamp, people who were struggling, and we'd be in the chats like, does anyone get this? And some people would just be like, oh yeah, I'll explain it to you, and really helpful. And some people just like, man, I'm in the same boat as you, dog. I don't know what's going on. And we could laugh about that and still spur each other on. I even remember some instances where one of the students that had a bit more experience would set up like a homework type of meetup where people would join 5, 10 people who didn't understand the work or the homework that they were set, and the student would just spend maybe half an hour of his time going through the things that he knew or learnt and try to get others on his level. Is really, really cool. So if you want to join a bootcamp, you're definitely going to get that experience of meeting other people who want to do the same things as you, and they're mostly good people. I didn't meet any bad people on my course. And yeah, it can only be a good thing. We're going to go now with the 5th point. Another good point. That's nice. Constant advice from tech professionals. Cool. So what did I mean by this? Easy. We had about 6 to 7 TAs or teaching assistants on the course, and I'll be honest, these were mostly people from a previous cohort. So people that previously graduated the course, passed it, and completed the bootcamp were then brought on to teach the next students on the next cohort. They mostly knew what they were doing, but some of them were quite a bit clueless, so watch out for that. But anyway, it was really good to hear from them and their experiences on their previous bootcamp, or even just like the professional information that they could give us. It was really good to know that they were once in our position and now they've ascended to, a full-time job in the industry, or being able to teach others. It's really cool. So kind of similar to the last point, but it was really good to get that information. You can ask them anything and they'll try and get you the closest to an answer, and if they didn't know it themselves, they'd look on Google and try and search it out themselves, and obviously through their experience they'd be able to give something quite succinct. So it was cool. Okay, so this one is not compatible with a busy life. Okay, so I know, guys, I had a child in the middle of this bootcamp, so this point might only be relevant to me, but a lot of us are busy. Come on, it's not just me. I'd say if you had only about 4 hours a day to yourself to spare, that might not be enough time for this bootcamp. I don't want to put you off, but it was intense. And especially with the type of bootcamp this is, the type of information that we're learning, this is obviously heavy technology. It's hard stuff. That's why people get paid so much to do this job. To pack all of that information in such a short space of time over 16 weeks is not the best learning experience for me. I'm not gonna lie. Some of the times I swear it came in one ear and out the other. Like, and I just skipped some of the stuff. Like, I remember we had to learn, what's that stuff that holds your information in a website? Not cookies, local storage. I remember we had a homework on local storage, and I didn't understand what I had to do. And I was trying to look back on the previous information and some of the previous slides that we had. I was able to look at the previous webinars that we did, and I still just didn't have enough time to actually understand it. I just skipped the whole thing. I know what local storage is now and how to use it, but I was stuck for about a whole 7 days on that. Anyway, my point is, this course might only be suitable for people who have quite a lot of time on their hands. They either work a part-time job and they live at home, so they don't have to earn loads of money to pay mortgages and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's about it. I mean, if you're crazy like me, then you'll do it. I guess the benefit was I got a certificate and I did learn more than I would have learned if I didn't do the bootcamp. But at the same time, there was quite a lot of information lost on me. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't learn everything, so yeah, more on the bad side, I'd say. Okay, quickly going through this, we've got number 7, weekly projects to test you. I've put test in speech marks, so I wonder what that means. Weekly projects to test you. Okay, so we did have homework every week, starting from the first week to the 16th week. So, okay, we had 2 projects in the course. We had one project halfway through, which took up 2 weeks. And then we had an end project at the end of the course, which also took up 2 weeks. So apart from those, every other week we had homework. And the first ones were super simple. They got progressively harder, and some of them even I just couldn't complete. I just didn't know what was happening. Again, like that local storage one, I didn't know what I was doing. And I couldn't pretend. But yeah, the projects were good. They were good. They really did allow you to learn more about what you learned in the class, and then you'd have the weekend generally to actually do the homework. So let me go more into what the structure was of the bootcamp. Like I said, there was 4 classes that we had to attend, by the way, Tuesday to Friday. And Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday were the time where you learnt the information, you digested what the instructor was teaching you. And then on Friday, the instructor would take you through what the homework looks like, what you're tasked to complete over the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You have to complete it, and then you hand it in on Tuesday at 11:59. You hand that in and you either pass with flying colors or you fail, and you possibly have an opportunity to do it again. But I mean, I never failed, so I wouldn't know about that. My point is that those projects were really good, and they really helped solidify the information that you were learning in the weekly classes, and then you were able to actually express that through the weekend on the projects that you could do. And you could they didn't all have to be the same. You could do your own little spin on it. I'm actually going to do a video on all of the projects that I did, all the successful projects. You're not going to see the stinkers. Maybe you should see the ones that I failed. But anyway, there's definitely going to be a video on the successful projects that I did. That definitely helped me along. Okay, another good point. Career advice and workshops throughout. So this was completely lost on me, unfortunately, because I have a full-time job. So every day, Monday to Friday, I work from 10 to 6:30. Even though, to be fair, I had to speak to my employers, and they helped me work from 9 to 5:30. So I had that hour time to commute home and then start my course at 6:30 to 9:30. It was intense. It was crazy. If you think about my day, I'd start off waking up at 6 o'clock, get ready for work, go to work at 8, get to work for 9, finish at 5:30, travel home, get home at like 6:25, quickly log on, 6:30 I'm on the course, 9:30 I finish the course. If I didn't understand what I was doing or I got stuck on a few things, I'd stay for the after class, which was until 10 o'clock. And then it was time for bed. Man, it was crazy. But anyway, back on the point. I hate going on tangents. The career advice. So yeah, throughout the week, they'd sprinkle little career advice webinars and like little workshops and stuff that you could attend. But they were at such stupid times. They weren't on the weekends. They were on Thursday at 1 o'clock and Wednesday at 2 o'clock. And it's just like, how is someone like me supposed to attend something like that? You know, I'm in work. When I'm in work, I'm fully in work. So I couldn't attend those, but they did look really helpful. It looked like there was a lot of information that they were giving. And yeah, so you'd get that if you were a part-timer or someone who had a lot of time on their hands or just had a full-time job that was garbage and they could just ignore it and log into these webinars. I wasn't able to do that, so I can't really talk about it, but I'd say it's a good point. Okay, so the last 2 points are bad points, and yeah, I didn't enjoy this one. The 9th point was learning outdated technologies. I did hear about this when I started researching about boot camps and, you know, is it a good idea to join a boot camp or not? And I did see quite a lot of information on people that had done boot camps, and they weren't very happy because they were learning things that, you know, was popular back in 2012 or 2015 and stuff like that. And it's just like, why are we learning this? But my point, actually, my gripe about this is that if you know anything about JavaScript, there's ES5 and then there's ES6. Let me just make sure I know what I'm talking about. Cool. Yeah, okay, I was correct. So I'm learning something, I guess. So yeah, ES6 was developed in 2015, right? And they were teaching us things from before that, which is ES5. And I understand that some code bases from companies could still be implementing ES5, you know, technology and kind of variables and stuff like that in JavaScript. But I mean, it's almost 10 years ago. And I thought to myself, why would you start with teaching us all of the old stuff? They'd spend 3/4 of the lesson teaching us about ES5 and using var to declare your variables and, you know, all these old archaic ways of building websites and doing things. And I just thought, this is weird. Well, I didn't learn this before the bootcamp. I was actually learning modern stuff. Why are they doing this? And then they'd use the last quarter of the lesson to be like, so anyway, that was the old way of doing things. Here's the new way. And they'd be teaching us about let, const to do your variables. And I was just like, why? Who still uses var? This is dumb. And I'm going to go through a quick list, right, of all the things that are in ES6, the new features. So arrow functions, map objects, classes, and some of the methods on strings like dot includes. It just goes on. And I just thought to myself, why are you really doing this? Like, if you just taught us from the beginning, we might have been able to go quite a bit forward towards like putting our brain power into things that actually matter, like React or, you know, Node.js or something that was really a big part of the course. But instead we were like flailing around in ES5 world, just like, okay, we're not really sure why we're learning this, but that's what they're teaching and we just have to learn it. And I understand that there's obviously some value to learning some of the old methods. I get that, but learn that in your own time. You know, we need to get onto the modern stuff. We want to get a modern job which pays us modern money, not money from 2015. You know, let's get the real money. Let's get 2024 money. Okay, so last bad point. Here's my hot take, if you must. These projects that we did were designed to be on our portfolio, to help us find jobs, to help us elevate our learning. So, you know, prospective employers can look at our work and think, okay, they know how to do this, they know how to do this project. Cool, I'll hire them. That's complete baloney. There's absolutely no way that I could use not even one, maybe one or two projects towards the end, especially, that I could use to give an employer and say, look what I learned on this bootcamp. And they could say, okay, cool, pretty good. You know how to do that. We'll hire you for this junior position or whatever. But there's absolutely no way the majority of those projects were to get you a job. They would laugh you out of the interview. Some of these projects were just terrible looking. And no matter how much you try to spruce it up and make it look like as good as possible, the project itself just wasn't designed to get you to that next level, to actually get you a job, even though that's what it was set out to do. I mean, it was a good learning experience. It was a good way to incorporate all the things that you learned for that week. And I really enjoyed that part of it. But to actually show it on your portfolio, your GitHub, no, hide that stuff, hide it. I would say, you know, once you get out of the bootcamp, you should actually commit some time, a week or so, to make some really good quality projects that you can put on your portfolio and show to employers, you know, people that would want to hire you and interview you and stuff like that. Not these ones. And there we go. So that's all of the points. My final conclusion is that if the bootcamp's free, like it was for me, do the bootcamp. If it's not free and you had to pay 5K, 10K, I would do a full-time bootcamp. I'd do something where I can really commit all of my time to it, and I would potentially have it for longer. So if it was a 6-month bootcamp that maybe I spent 5K on, and it was from a really reputable company that, you know, have really good reviews on their bootcamps, then I would actually do a bootcamp. I really had a good experience from that, and I would say it would be worthwhile. But yeah, for this company, the reviews were so. The instructor kind of lost his mind because it was so in depth what we had to learn, and he just kind of like, woo, I don't know what I'm doing, but here we're on the wild ride. You know, it was that kind of flex. So yeah, I don't know if I'd do this again if I paid for it, but if I didn't pay for it, I would do it. It was a great experience all in all. I met some cool people that I still speak to now, and yeah, I'm continuing my tech journey. Coding for life, baby. Okay, cool. So see you in the next one, I guess.